With that, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the podium His Excellency Fumio Kishida, the Prime Minister of Japan.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you today. I also want to thank you for your heartfelt condolences on the death of my friend and great predecessor, former Prime Minister Abe. We Japanese will never forget your kindness. Almost 60 years ago, because of my father's job, I lived in Queens. Maybe you can tell that I have a hint of a New York accent. In 1960s America was a generous, diverse, colorful, and vibrant place to me. As a kid, I was greatly influenced by that vision of America and its reverence for freedom and energy. It was also here in New York that I encountered baseball, a sport that I love from the bottom of my heart. Today, Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge are in dead heat for the MVP under a nationwide spotlight. But when I came to the US, there was no Japanese in Major League Baseball. Later, while I was still in Queens, Mashi Murakami of the San Francisco Giants became the first Japanese to play in MLB here at the Mets game at Shea Stadium. He became my hero. After I returned to Japan, I played baseball on my high school team. I think baseball taught me values that I respect as a politician, such as teamwork, perseverance, and that the game isn't over until it's over. One other thing I want to mention, since I am here in the citadel of capitalism, I am the only post-World War II Japanese Prime Minister with a financial background. I worked as a banker in foreign exchange and corporate restructuring. That is why I feel about free enterprise the way Mark Twain felt about good whiskey. Too much is barely enough. So I have come here today to Wall Street, the center of the global economy, with this message. Japan's economy will continue to show strong growth. You can invest in Japan with confidence. I advocate an economic policy of a new form of capitalism, which is a comprehensive package to renew the growth of the Japanese economy. If I use my favorite player, Shohei Ohtani, as a metaphor, The defining feature of a new form of capitalism is that it is a two-way strategy. Of course, it is not to hit and pitch, but to promote growth and sustainability. I firmly believe that the creative energy of the private sector is crucial for prosperity and a strong economy. Growth will only be achieved if we harness this energy. At the same time, we must uphold sustainability by responding to the various risks that constrain our economy, such as global inflation, an unstable energy supply, climate change, and a declining birth rate, and an aging population, as well as increasingly severe security environment. Can Japan really accomplish great change? I'm here to say we can. History shows that we can. The Meiji Restoration and the post-war economic miracle are reminders of that ability. And now, once again, we can see changes happening in Japan. What I am proposing is to transform the various social challenges we face into engines of growth and to share the fruit of growth for even further growth. To meet these challenges, I intend to mobilize every possible policy instrument, including the budget, taxation, and regulatory reform. One very important policy is a corporate governance reform. As a result of numerous reforms Japan has made in the last decade, the behavior of Japanese companies has significantly changed. ROE ratios have soared, and almost all companies now have independent outside directors. We also expect more companies to appoint women and foreign talent to their boards. We have witnessed more companies undertaking vast corporate reforms not seen in the past, such as divesting non-core businesses and pivoting to new fields. We will accelerate and further strengthen corporate governance reforms in Japan, such as establishing a forum in the near future to hear from investors from around the world. I would also like to note that today marks the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the NYSE and the Tokyo Stock Exchange. We will continue with our TSE reforms we started this year and revive Japan as an international financial market. It has been 3 decades since the birth of the bubble economy in Japan. Since then, Japan has cut costs by tackling excessive debt, excessive investments, and excessive capital. We have achieved a slim, cost-sensitive economy as a result. But clearly, more is required. We face the challenge of investing in the future and developing an economy that consistently creates new value. Let me share Japan's 5 priorities. First is to invest in people. Digitalization and greening have drastically changed the economy. We know that the source of the great deal of added value will intangible, not tangible assets. And in particular, it will be human capital. So we will advance society where human capital is central. A labor market reform is my priority. Japanese labor management will be updated from a seniority-based lifelong employment system into a new Japanese system where job-based pay is located at its core through the cooperation between the government and business community. This will facilitate labor mobility and give birth to a circle in which paying higher wages attracts highly skilled personnel, thereby increasing labor productivity and level of salaries. We will further bolster our support for reskilling of workers in digital and other fields while encouraging labor mobility. Japan's future depends upon the vitality that women bring to our economy. Women empowerment is crucial. There has been a clear shift in the attitude of the younger generation. Over the past 10 years, the percentage of full-time female employees under the age of 35 has increased by 10%, or 0.6 million, even though the population of this generation decreased by 1.2 million over the same period. We are determined to clear the obstacles that hinder women's advancement, because women must be at the core of the Japanese economy. We need women to pursue their careers and have families. This is no reason we cannot pursue both and help the declining birth rate. In April of next year, we will establish the Child and Family Affairs Agency to consolidate child-rearing policies. This is a landmark policy that aims to meet the constructual challenges of our population decline. Reforming the wage system, investing in people, and women empowerment. All of these efforts will be promoted in a transparent manner as we establish disclosure protocols for human capital, and we will lead the international rulemaking process as well. The second is to invest in innovation. We have formulated national strategies and targets in the area of AI, quantum, biotechnology, digital, and decarbonization. I place particular emphasis on startups. Diverse challenges to the status quo are already emerging in Japan. A graduate student founded a unicorn startup that developed a unique Japanese biomanufacturing technology and is now expanding into the United States. A female CEO who launched a novel network service in the consulting field acquired a US company last year, and now the business has expanded to 190 countries across the globe. The energy brought by women and young people is the Japanese economy's hope for prosperity. Next, Toyotas and Sonys will spring from the drive and determination of these challenges. The important thing is to create an ecosystem in Japan where startup will flourish. We need to expand tax incentive measures on startup investments based on profit from selling stocks and incentive stock open session. We will also try to bring in U.S. universities with high reputations on startup education. The startup market is currently in a difficult situation, but because we are in such a situation, we will further boost support. Third is to invest in green transformation, or GX. Japan is undertaking a major economic, social, and industrial reform to achieve a carbon neutrality by 2050. This is a huge chance and can provide a booster rocket to Japan's economy. By the end of the year, I will present a roadmap for the next 10 years. Through the combination of growth-oriented carbon pricing and investment support, we will achieve over 150 trillion yen of GX investment in Japan over the next decade. We will also contribute to the advancement of Asia's GX investment. To achieve a zero emission by 2050, it is estimated Asia will require approximately $40 trillion. To attract transition financing from around the world, we envision working on large-scale projects in Asia, such as power generation, hydrogen, and grids, as well as creating common standards within the region. In light of the energy crisis triggered by Russia's outrageous war, we will also tackle head-on the issue of nuclear power generation. I have ordered an intensive expert analysis of restarting more than a dozen nuclear power plants, as well as developing the next generation of reactors that incorporate new safety mechanism. Building upon the discussion of experts, we will accelerate considerations to make a decision by the end of the year. My fourth point is our asset income doubling plan. We now have 2,000 trillion yen in personal financial assets. Only around 10% of this is invested in stocks. In order to double asset income and enable long-term asset building for retirement, it is essential to make our small investment tax exemption system for individuals permanent. My first point is to build a nation that grows together with the rest of the world. Japan will continue to be a trading and investment nation open to the world. We are a nation that has flourished through the free flow of people, goods, and capitals. We have multi-layered trade and investment relations with countries around the globe and actually promote economic partnerships, including CPTPP and IPEF. This will not change. COVID-19, of course, interrupt all of these benefits. But from October 11, Japan will relax border control measures to be on par with the US, as well as resume visa-free travel and individual travel. Let me add, and let me add that next year, Japan will host the G7 Hiroshima Summit. It is the mission of the G7 to protect the prosperous global economy, as the G7's president. As a G7's president, I take that mission very seriously. And finally, let me say a few words about Japan-US cooperation. As allies, Japan and the US are good partners, not only in the field of security, but also in economics. Japan is the largest investor in the US, and the US is the largest investor in Japan. The number of American jobs created by Japanese companies is second out of all foreign countries. When Japanese companies prosper, so too does the US economy. We intend to further deepen this strategic relationship. When I met with President Biden in May, we agreed to strengthen cooperation on semiconductor manufacturing, which is key to our economic growth and security. Projects such as joint Japan-US investment in semiconductor plants and research into next generation semiconductors are already underway. Such supply-side investment under international coordination is globally crucial in addressing current inflation levels. It may be one of the important issues to be discussed at next year's G7. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start bringing this to a close by saying that I'm resolute in my ambition to make Japan as prosperous and energetic as the New York of my childhood and as the NYSE itself. This is nothing more thrilling in baseball than a comeback win. I'm here today to tell you that with the help of the Japanese people, we will revive and revitalize the Japanese economy. And for inspiration, we need look no further than to the dynamism of NYSE, which remains ever vibrant, ever renewing, and ever changing. Its market energy is so unrelenting, it can remake not just economic, but societies. I think you, and thank you for letting me share my vision of capitalism with you today at this very heart of capitalism, the New York Stock Exchange. And thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your hospitality. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Prime Minister. You have unveiled a very ambitious and exciting program for Japan, and I know I speak for many when I say we not only have a renewed but ever-strengthening sense of optimism about the opportunities in Japan. Now, for those of you in the audience, we've collected some of your questions today, and I will present them to the Prime Minister. He will respond in Japanese, so you should each have a headset available at your seat. And then in a short while, we'll conclude by closing today's market as well and symbolizing to the world, as you said, Prime Minister, Japan is here to win the game. So, the first question we had gathered, Mr. Prime Minister, is that over the past year, the yen has depreciated against the dollar to a level we have not seen in nearly 3 decades. Today, the Japanese government intervened. And what is your view on the current exchange rate and its impact on the Japanese economy, and perhaps more broadly, your view on monetary policy?
はい、まずご質問ありがとうございます。為替は安定的に推移することが重要ですが、最近の為替相場では、投機的な動きも背景とした急速で一方的な動きが見られると思います。ご指摘のように1年で30円以上円安が動いたのは過去30年間なかったことです。また足元では1日2円、1日のうち2円以上も円安が進行しました。為替相場、これは市場で決定される、これは原則ですが、こうした投機による過度な変動が繰り返されること、これは決して見過ごすことはできないと思います。このような考え方から本日日本においては為替介入を実施をいたしました。政府としては引き続き為替相場の動向、高い緊張感を持って注視するとともに、過度な変動に対してはこれは断固として必要な対応を取りたいと思っています。いずれにせよ、こうした為替の動向について引き続き高いこの関心を持って緊張感を持って
注視を続けていきたいと私は思っています。
Thank you, Prime Minister. You discussed the need to promote green investment. So what kind of initiatives will Japan employ to attract and incentivize global investors to the country?
はい、GX についてですが、私はこの10年間のロードマップを年末までに示そうと思っています。そしてそのロードマップの柱は3つあります。まず1つ目はこの成長志向型カーボンプライシングです。投資あるいは消費これを拡大させていく上で鍵となるのは市場機能の活用です。この私の内閣においては成長志向型カーボンプライシングこうしたこの仕組みを今設計中です。カーボン価格これが短期的に大きく変動すると投資もあるいは消費もリスクに含んでしまいます。今年から炭素排出量の約4割を占める企業が参加する GX リーグを始動させていますが、これを2026年には成長志向型排出型取引市場として本格的に稼働させたいと思っています。そして総排出量の7割を占める民間企業の参加を促し、そして市場安定化機能を公的に持たせて、カーボン価格が一定のバンドの中で安定的に、そして市場の予見可能性を確保する形で上昇していく、こうした仕組みを確保したいと思っています。そしてこの2つ目としてトランジションファイナンスです。日本の未来は成長するアジア経済とともにあります。アジア経済の中でも ASEAN 経済だけでも2050年には 2.7 倍になると言われています。このアジアの成長経済の中でカーボンニュートラルを達成するためにはトランジションファイナンスをどう呼び込むのか、そのための投資プロジェクトをどう作るのか、これが決定的に重要になってきます。2050年までに累計で約40兆ドルの資金需要があるという試算もあります。日本はカーボンプライシングと投資支援の組み合わせによってまず国内において今後10年間で150兆円の GX 投資の実現を目指します。そしてこれをアジアに拡大してアジアの膨大な GX 投資の具体化に貢献していきたいと思っています。炭素削減のための発電投資、水素、さらには次世代グリッドなどの大規模国際プロジェクト、域内共通の技術標準づくりなどを整備して世界のマネーをこうしたアジアに取り込んでいく、アジアゼロエミッション共同体というべき投資対象群を作っていきたいと思っています。そして3番目のポイントが原子力です。先ほども申し上げたとおり、専門家の意見を踏まえて年末までに具体的な結論を出せるよう検討を加速させていきたいと思っています。以上です。
Thank you, Prime Minister. Now, you mentioned in your speech labor market reforms. What specific measures will you take to address the issues that are currently facing the Japanese labor market?
はい、日本においてぜひ労働市場の改革を進めていきたいと思っています。 労働者にこの成長性のある新たな企業あるいは分野へ転職の機会を与える、また企業間、分野間この労働移動の円滑化を図る、また他の企業でも通用するようなスキルの高い人材を育てるために人への投資を行う、そしてこれらを背景として労働生産性を上昇させ、そして構造的な賃上げを実現する、この3つを同時に解決していくことが重要だと思っています。日本は戦後重工業の発展の過程で年齢に応じて給与が上がる、こうした年功的なこの職能給制度を普及させ、労働者を企業に囲い込む、こうした取り組みを進めてきました。この米国などを追いかけるキャッチアップ型の成長を行う、こうした当時としては適したものだったかもしれませんが、しかし現在の日本はデジタルあるいはグリーンなどこの非連続的なイノベーションを起こし、新たな成長段階に進む、こうしたことが求められています。こうした時代の変化の中でこの労働市場を改革していかなければならない。私の政権としてはリスキリングの支援とともに、この一律の職能給、年功賃金ではなくして、仕事の内容に応じたジョブ型のこの職務給の考え方を日本なりに取り入れた雇用システム、こうしたものへ移行させる、このことによって企業間、産業間の労働移動を円滑にしていくということを考えていきたいと思います。失業なき労働移動となるように政府の支援策の検討ですとか、さらには個々の企業の実情に応じて年功賃金から日本に合った職務給への移行を進めるための指針作り、これを官民で来年の春までにを目指して進めていきたい、このように思っています。
Thank you, Prime Minister. Perhaps our final question, also a related question, deals with the continued challenge of Japan with regard to a declining population. And in your speech, you talked about incorporating more women into the workforce. Can you be a bit more specific about the steps you and your government plan to take to bring not only more women, but also more foreign workers into the Japanese workforce?
はい、人口減少、これは我が国のこの経済の根幹を揺るがしかねない喫緊の課題です。先ほどもスピーチの中で申し上げましたが、来年の4月までに子ども政策の司令塔となる子ども家庭庁、これを創設し、子育て政策、これを抜本的に強化していきたいと思っています。そして女性活躍については、その企業に対するこの男女間賃金格差、また女性役員比率の開示義務付け、またデジタル分野の教育訓練の拡充、また同一労働同一賃金の徹底、こうしたものを通じて賃上げを進め、女性活躍の基盤、これを強化していきたいと思います。日本の女性の就業率は今 71%、これは欧米並みだとは思いますが、非正規雇用の割合が 54%とされています。これを大きく改善していかなければならない。この改善を行うことによって賃上げあるいは生産性の向上、こうしたものにつなげていかなければならない、こうした問題意識を持っています。さらにこの外国人材の活用について、これアジアなど諸外国においても この人口減少が進む中にあって、外国人材の争奪戦が今、国際社会で行われています。世界の人材獲得競争において、日本も遅れを取らないように、高度人材の受け入れ制度、これを世界にごする水準に改革をしていきたいということで、今、取り組みを始めている。これがこの人口減少に関わる日本の取り組みの概要であります。
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. We applaud your efforts. And I speak for many here today, Prime Minister, in saying that your presence is a sign of the great but ever-strengthening partnership between our businesses, our economies, our people, and ultimately our countries as well. We're honored to have you here today. We're honored that you will join us in closing today's market. And I invite you all to please join me in thanking the Prime Minister for being with us today.